The void between stars erupted with warning signals as the Swift Venture's sensors detected multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace. Captain Kate Harrison watched through the bridge's panoramic viewport as 3 blood-red vessels materialized against the backdrop of distant stars, their predatory shapes unmistakable even at this range. Her fingers drummed a steady rhythm on the command rail, not from nervousness, but anticipation. Multiple Drachnid signatures confirmed, Captain. Lieutenant Rodriguez reported from his sensor station, maintaining an admirably steady voice despite the gravity of the situation. 3 Ravager-class assault ships. Their energy signatures matched the Crimson Scale clan. Harrison allowed herself a small smile. The Crimson Scales were notorious even among pirates, exactly the prey she'd been hunting for the past 3 months. Excellent. Status of our cargo, Mr. Chen. All weapon systems masked and operating at minimal power, Captain, the tactical officer responded, his hands hovering over controls disguised as standard cargo management interfaces. Energy signatures perfectly match a standard Mark IV merchant vessel. They won't see anything unusual unless they do a molecular scan. And if they try that? Harrison's smile widened slightly. Well, that's why we have our little surprise in Cargo Bay 3. The bridge crew maintained their practiced facade of a merchant vessel's disorganized panic, but their movements told a different story. Each seemingly random adjustment, every frightened glance at screens, was carefully choreographed to sell their deception. Meanwhile, hidden targeting systems tracked each pirate vessel with lethal precision. Incoming transmission. Communications Officer Walsh announced, adding a deliberate tremor to her voice for any potentially watching eyes. They're broadcasting on all standard frequencies. Right on schedule, Harrison murmured. Put them on screen, and remember, we're terrified merchants today. The main view screen flickered to life, revealing the scaled visage of a Drachnid commander. His amber eyes gleamed with predatory satisfaction as he surveyed what he assumed was a helpless merchant crew. Attention, human vessel. The pirate's translated voice rumbled through the speakers. You have entered territory claimed by the Crimson Scale clan. Your ship and cargo are now forfeit. Disable your engines and prepare to be boarded. Resist, and we will. A sudden alert from Rodriguez's station interrupted the standard threatening speech. Captain, they're launching fighters. Harrison nodded, unsurprised. The Drachnids never waited for a response to their demands. The speech was just tradition. Their real strategy was to launch fighters during the ultimatum, catching their prey off guard. It was predictable, just like everything else about their tactics. Hold steady, Harrison ordered as the fighter craft streaked toward them, their weapon systems powering up. Let them think they've got us cornered. She opened a private channel to engineering. Maya, how's our special package doing? Chief Engineer Maya Thompson's voice came back confident and clear. Quantum disruptors are primed and masked, Captain. The modified cargo containers are ready to ruin someone's day. Just say the word. The Drachnid fighters took up attack positions around the Swift Venture, their energy weapons charging with an ominous green glow. On the main screen, the pirate commander's expression showed the usual mix of contempt and boredom. They'd done this countless times before, after all. Just another helpless human merchant ship to plunder. Harrison settled into her command chair, every muscle relaxed despite the weapons pointed at her ship. 3 months of waiting, of playing helpless merchant, of gathering data on pirate tactics and technology, had led to this moment. The trap was set, the bait taken, and the real cargo of the Swift Venture, humanity's latest advancement in space warfare, was about to be demonstrated. All hands, she whispered into the ship-wide comm. Battle stations. But keep smiling. We're still helpless merchants for the next 30 seconds. The Drachnid commander's hologram loomed over the bridge, his scaled face twisted in what passed for a smile among his species. Captain Harrison took a deliberate sip from her coffee mug. Standard issue Terran Space Force, with "I'd rather be hunting pirates" printed in faded letters on the side. Your cargo manifest, the commander demanded, mandibles clicking in irritation at her casual demeanor. Transmit it now, or we start removing parts of your ship with your crew still inside them." Harrison made a show of nearly spilling her coffee. "Oh, yes, of course." She nodded frantically to Walsh, who began transmitting the carefully crafted fake manifest. "We're just carrying industrial processing units. Nothing valuable, really. Barely worth your time." The commander's secondary eyes narrowed, a sign of suspicion among drachnids. The manifest was perfect, down to the last detail, but something about the human's behavior wasn't matching his extensive experience. Prey species followed patterns. They begged, they threatened, they tried to bargain. They didn't act, inconvenienced. "Interesting," he growled, all four arms crossing over his armored chest. "Because our scans show power fluctuations consistent with military-grade shielding." "Care to explain that, Captain?" "Harrison." She supplied helpfully, taking another sip. "And those would be the processing units. They're for heavy industrial use. Have to be shielded or they interfere with ship systems. Standard stuff. Really. Would you like to surrender now? It would save us both some time." The bridge fell silent. Even her own crew, despite knowing the plan, stared at her in shock. The Drachnid commander's scales flushed dark purple, a sign of rage. "You dare!" he snarled, hologram flickering as he stepped forward. "You dare mock the Crimson Scale clan. We who have destroyed entire flotillas. We who have become predictable." Harrison interrupted, setting down her mug. "Let me guess. You've already launched boarding pods under the cover of this conversation. They're approaching from vectors you think are in our sensor shadows." Standard Drachnid Tactical Manual, Chapter 3, Section 12. Rodriguez's sensors beeped right on cue. "Captain, 3 boarding pods, approaching from port, starboard low, and dorsal high." Harrison finished, not even checking the readings, "because that's what you always do. Just like you always target communication arrays first, then engines, then life support." She stood, brushing an imaginary speck of dust from her uniform. "We've noticed patterns in your attacks. Lots of patterns." The commander's hologram stuttered as he took an involuntary step back. "How could you possibly know that?" Harrison smiled. "We've been studying you. Every raid, every attack, every victory against human ships has been feeding us data. Did you really think humanity would just accept piracy as a cost of doing business?" On the tactical display, the boarding pods were nearly in position. The Drachnid commander had regained his composure, mandibles clicking in what might have been amusement. "Interesting theories, Captain. But knowledge means nothing without strength to back it. Your ship is surrounded. Your weapons, if you have any, are powered down. Your shields are exactly where we want them." Harrison cut him off again. She keyed her command console, switching to a private channel. "Maya, would you like to show our guests why we really came out here?" The chief engineer's voice came back with poorly concealed glee. "Ready when you are, Captain. Those cargo containers are getting awful tired of pretending to be cargo containers." Harrison turned back to the increasingly uncertain hologram of the Drachnid commander. "Here's a fun fact about humans that you seem to have missed in your research. We don't just adapt to threats." Her smile turned predatory. "We actively seek them out. We study them. We take them apart piece by piece until we understand exactly how they work. And then we make them obsolete." She raised one hand, fingers poised to snap. "Would you like to see what we've learned from you?" Harrison's snap echoed through the bridge as the Swift Venture's cargo containers began their transformation. The metallic walls split along previously invisible seams, panels sliding apart with precision that made the Drachnid commander's mandibles quiver. Each container unfurled like a deadly flower, revealing nested arrays of weapons that had never existed in any pirate's nightmare. "Beautiful, isn't she?" Harrison gestured to the tactical display, where the Swift Venture's true form was emerging. "Officially, she's classified as a Q ship. Unofficially, We call her a Venus flytrap. You know what that is, Commander? It's an earth plant that looks harmless until something stupid lands on it. Then, she made a crushing gesture with her hand. The Drachnid's hologram flickered as he barked orders to his crew in his native tongue. His boarding pods were already attempting to reverse course, their engines flaring desperately against the vacuum of space. Too late, Rodriguez announced from his station, not bothering to hide his grin. Quantum lock engage. Their pods are trapped in our artificial gravity wells. Maya's voice crackled over the comm. Captain, you should see their faces. Our sensor feeds are picking up some classic "oh shit" expressions through their viewports. The Drachnid commander's composure cracked completely. These weapons, they're impossible. We've raided dozens of human ships. None of them had capabilities like this. That's because you've never actually raided a human ship, Harrison replied, walking around her command chair with casual confidence. Those were all test beds, designed to gather data on your tactics, your technology, your weaknesses. Each one carried a different experimental system, transmitted their data back to Earth. And then, she shrugged. Well, you thought you were destroying them, but they were really just cleaning up the evidence. The tactical display showed the Swift Venture's full arsenal now deployed. Quantum disruptors designed to target specific energy frequencies, adaptive shield generators that could match and nullify enemy weapons, and gravity manipulation systems that turn space itself into a weapon. Lieutenant Chen, would you like to explain to our guests what they're looking at? Harrison asked, enjoying the growing horror on the Drachnid commander's face. Chen's fingers danced across his console, highlighting each weapon system in turn. The port arrays are quantum-locked plasma cannons, calibrated specifically to the resonant frequency of Drachnid shield systems. Starboard mounts carry our gravity manipulators. We reverse-engineered those from studying how your ships maneuver in combat. The dorsal turrets. Those are something special we cooked up after analyzing debris from your last 3 successful raids. Impossible, the commander whispered. No species could advance this quickly. That's where you're wrong. Harrison leaned forward, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial tone. See, humans have something unique going for us. We've spent our entire history adapting to threats, overcoming stronger opponents, turning weaknesses into strengths. Space warfare. That's just our latest challenge. Maya's voice interrupted again. Captain, their mothership is charging weapons. Want me to show them our new point defense system? By all means, Chief. They came all this way for a demonstration, after all. The Drachnid flagship's energy weapons flared to life, sending a barrage of plasma bolts toward the Swift Venture. Instead of impacting shields or armor, the bolts simply vanished, each one swallowed by microscopic artificial gravity wells that winked into existence for fractions of a second. That, Harrison explained to the stunned commander, was inspired by how your ships handle missile attacks. We just made it more efficient. About 30 times more efficient, actually. Would you like to try your ion cannons next? We have something special prepared for those too. The commander's hologram straightened, scales rippling with a mix of fear and newfound respect. You were hunting us. All this time, we thought we were the predators. But you were actually helping us test our newest defense systems, Harrison finished. And now that the test phase is complete, she turned to Chen with a nod. Show them what this ship can really do. Chen's fingers flew across his tactical console with practiced precision. The Swift Venture's hidden weapon systems, now fully deployed, hummed with power that made the deck plates vibrate beneath their feet. The trapped boarding pods hung helpless in space, their crews watching in horror as humanity's latest warship revealed its true nature. Target analysis complete, Chen reported, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through his system. Their shields are optimized for energy weapons, with minimal protection against kinetic impacts. Classic Drachnid overconfidence. Harrison nodded, studying the tactical display. Let's show them why that was a mistake. Maya, initiate sequence Alpha 7. Let's give them a proper Earth welcome. The first boarding pod never saw the attack coming. A burst of concentrated electromagnetic energy, specifically tuned to Drachnid shield frequencies, created a momentary gap in their defenses. In that fraction of a second, a hypervelocity round, little more than a sophisticatedly shaped piece of tungsten, passed through the opening. The pod didn't explode. It simply ceased to exist, transformed into a rapidly expanding cloud of superheated vapor. "Holy shit," Rodriguez whispered from his sensor station. "Did we just combine an EMP burst with a railgun round?" Harrison finished, allowing herself a grim smile. "That's what happens when you let humans study your technology. We don't just copy it. We find ways to make it work together that you never imagined." The second pod's crew, watching their companion's destruction, attempted a desperate defensive maneuver. Their engines flared to maximum power, fighting against the artificial gravity well that held them in place. For a moment, it seemed they might break free. "Cute," Maya commented over the comm. "They're trying to overpower our gravity generators with engine thrust. Should I show them why that's a bad idea?" "Proceed," Harrison ordered, watching as the pod's engines suddenly cut out. The artificial gravity well containing them had shifted frequency, transforming from a simple restraint into something far more insidious. The pod's own thrust was now being redirected, causing it to spin helplessly in space. The Drachnid commander's hologram flickered violently as he watched his forces being systematically dismantled. "This is impossible. Our shields, our technology. We've dominated space warfare for centuries." "That's your problem right there," Harrison replied, pointing to the tactical display where the third pod was attempting to retreat. "You stopped innovating, got comfortable, started thinking your way was the only way." She turned to Shen. "Speaking of which, shall we demonstrate our point defense system?" The third pod had launched a spread of missiles, a last desperate attempt to fight back. They never reached their target. The space around the swift venture rippled as dozens of microgravity wells sprang into existence. Each missile found itself pulled off course, their smart guidance systems confused by the constantly shifting gravitational landscape. "Fun fact about human warfare," Harrison continued, watching the missiles spiral harmlessly into space. "We've never relied on just one type of defense or attack. We mix things up, adapt, combine technologies in ways that shouldn't work, but somehow do." To emphasize her point, the Swift Venture's main weapons array powered up. Not with the plasma beams the Drachnids expected, but with something far more terrifying. A hybrid system that combined electromagnetic pulses, kinetic projectiles, and focused gravity distortions into a single devastating package. "Final warning," Harrison announced, both to the remaining pod and the Drachnid mothership. "Your shields are designed to handle energy weapons. Your hulls are built to withstand physical impacts. But they've never encountered anything like this. A weapon system specifically designed to exploit the gaps between your defenses." She paused, letting the implications sink in. "So, what's it going to be? Surrender and help us understand your technology better, or become our next batch of test data?" The remaining pod's engines powered down in surrender. On the main screen, the Drachnid commander's scales had paled to an almost white shade, a clear sign of fear in his species. The tables hadn't just turned, they'd been completely flipped. "Excellent choice," Harrison said, settling back into her command chair. "Now, about those reinforcements you called for." The Drachnid mothership's engines flared brilliantly as it attempted an emergency jump to hyperspace. Harrison watched with almost predatory satisfaction as the massive vessel's drive core spooled up, its energy signatures climbing toward escape velocity. Almost there. Almost. Nothing happened. "Engine interruption successful," Maya reported, the glee evident in her voice. "Their hyperspace matrix is completely desynchronized. Should I explain why, or would you like to do the honors, Captain?" Harrison stood, approaching the hologram of the increasingly agitated Drachnid commander. "You see, We noticed something interesting about your hyperspace drives. They operate on a quantum frequency that's remarkably similar to your communication systems. Probably seem deficient, right? Using the same basic technology for both. The commander's secondary eyes widened in horrified understanding. The communication jamming isn't just blocking your distress calls, Harrison finished. Every time you try to send a message, every attempt to call for help, you're actually helping us fine-tune our jamming frequencies. By now, we've got your engine signature perfectly mapped. You're not going anywhere. Rodriguez's sensor station erupted with new alerts. Captain, they're trying to broadcast on all frequencies. Emergency bands, commercial channels, even using their weapons targeting systems to modulate energy pulses. Desperate, Harrison noted, circling her command chair. But educational. Chen, are you recording all this? Their improvised communication attempts might come in handy later. Every byte, Captain. Chen confirmed, his fingers dancing across his console. Their creativity is actually impressive. They've tried 7 different methods in the last 30 seconds alone, adding each one to our countermeasure database. The Drachnid commander's hologram flickered violently as his ship's power fluctuated between communication attempts and engine restarts. You're not just blocking us. You're learning from every attempt we make to break free. Now you're getting it. Harrison smiled. Every tactic you try, every system you engage, every desperate attempt to escape, it all feeds into our adaptive defense network. We're not just winning this battle, we're preparing for the next one. Maya's voice crackled over the comm again. Captain, you might want to see this. They're trying to reconfigure their shield harmonics to match our jamming frequencies, trying to use their defensive systems as a makeshift communication array. Now that's clever, Harrison admitted. Record everything, Maya, and show them why improvising with shield systems is dangerous when your opponent controls local gravity. The space around the Drachnid mothership suddenly warped. Their shields, already stressed from trying to double as communication equipment, encountered zones where gravity itself refused to behave consistently. The massive vessel shuddered as its shield bubble collapsed asymmetrically, failing in patterns that would have been beautiful if they weren't so deadly. Fun fact about human combat doctrine. Harrison addressed the failing hologram of the Drachnid commander. We don't just prepare for the enemies we know about. We prepare for the ones we haven't met yet. Everything you're throwing at us, we designed countermeasures for those tactics months ago. The stuff you're improvising now, that's just bonus data for our next upgrade cycle. The Drachnid mothership's lights flickered as another escape attempt failed. Emergency thrusters fired randomly across its hull as backup systems tried to compensate for the cascading failures of their primary systems. Each desperate measure was met with a precisely calculated counter-response, a dance of attack and defense where one partner knew all the steps in advance. Your reputation. The commander's hologram stabilized briefly, his scales shifting to a deep blue of resignation. The stories of human weakness, of your technological inferiority, they were all part of this, weren't they? Harrison's smile turned predatory. Commander, did you ever wonder why humans seem to resist so ineffectively? Why our ships always seem to carry exactly the wrong defenses for your attacks? She leaned forward, voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. We weren't failing to adapt. We were learning. And now, class is in session. Captain Zexthor's hologram vanished as the Drachnid mothership cut all non-essential power. The massive vessel's hull plates shifted, revealing rows of previously hidden weapon ports. Emergency thrusters fired in complex patterns, reorienting the ship into what Harrison recognized as their species' ultimate attack posture. Well, Harrison mused, looks like someone's ready to go down fighting. Maya, what's your read on their power signature? They're dumping everything into their forward batteries, Captain, Maya reported, her voice tight with concentration. Hull integrity fields are offline, life support reduced to minimum. They're preparing for a suicide run. Harrison nodded, almost respectfully. Desperate, but tactically sound. Their shields are compromised, their engines are locked, and their communications are blocked. The concentrated Alpha Strike is their best remaining option. She turned to Chen. Your analysis. Their current trajectory will bring them within optimum firing range in 47 seconds, Chen reported. Energy readings suggest they've modified their weapon cores to overload on impact. If they hit us, he let the implications hang in the air. Harrison's smile never wavered. Rodriguez, please tell me you've got a reading on their hull composition by now. Better than that, Captain. Rodriguez's fingers flew across his console. I got detailed scans of their structural integrity field harmonics. They had to take them offline to power up their weapons, but the residual signatures are clear as day. Perfect. Harrison keyed her calm. Maya, remember that crazy idea you had during the briefing? The one about using the gravity manipulators to create localized space-time distortions. A pause. The one you said was theoretically interesting, but practically insane. That idea. That's the one. How fast can you make it happen? Maya's laugh echoed through the bridge. Captain, I had that system configured the moment I saw their power readings spike. Just say the word. The Drachnid mothership accelerated, its massive form bearing down on the swift venture, like an arrow aimed at humanity's heart. Energy readings from its modified weapons spiked beyond any safety parameters, a literal suicide bomb wrapped in starship armor. 30 seconds to impact, Chen announced, his voice steady despite the looming threat. Harrison settled into her command chair, expression serene. Maya, show them why humans are the scariest engineers in known space. The space between the two ships changed. There was no other word for it. Reality itself seemed to bend and twist, creating a corridor of warped space-time that wrapped around the swift venture like a protective cocoon. The Drachnid ship's trajectory, mathematically perfect moments ago, suddenly became meaningless as the very fabric of space refused to behave according to their calculations. Gravitational lens engaged, Maya reported proudly. They're trying to compensate, but their navigation systems can't make sense of the readings. It's like trying to swim through a river that keeps changing direction. The massive pirate vessel fired its weapons, a desperate barrage of energy and matter that would have vaporized a small moon. The shots curved impossibly around the swift venture, caught in the artificial gravity wells and sent spiraling into empty space. The Drachnid ship itself followed a similar path, its unstoppable charge transformed into an awkward spiral that carried it harmlessly past its target. That, Harrison announced to her stunned crew, is why you never bet against human ingenuity. We didn't just prepare for their weapons, we prepared for their desperation. Through the viewport, they watched as the Drachnid ship's emergency systems finally kicked in, shutting down the overloaded weapons before they could detonate. The massive vessel drifted helplessly, its final gambit not just defeated but turned into a demonstration of human technological superiority. Captain, Rodriguez called out, his voice tight with suppressed laughter. I'm picking up some interesting biological readings from the Drachnid ship. Several crew members appear to be violently ill. Space sickness, Harrison nodded sagely, tends to happen when reality stops working the way you expect it to. Maya, would you mind stabilizing local space? I think our friends have had enough excitement for one day. The boarding shuttle from the Swift Venture docked with the Drachnid mothership with a soft metallic clang. Captain Harrison led the boarding party personally, her boots echoing against the alien vessel's deck plates as they made their way to the bridge. The Drachnid crew they passed stood at attention, their scales still pale with the lingering effects of their encounter with warped spacetime. Fascinating architecture, Harrison commented, running her hand along a curved bulkhead. Maya, are you getting all this? Every detail, Captain, Maya's voice came through their comms. Their structural design is actually quite elegant. The way they've integrated their shield generators into the hull framework. We could learn a thing or two from this. They reached the bridge to find Captain Zexthor waiting, his massive form somehow diminished by recent events. His secondary eyes tracked Harrison's every movement as she approached, analyzing her with new understanding. "Your ship," he began, mandibles clicking softly. "It was never meant to just defeat us, was it?" Harrison smiled, pulling up a holographic display from her wrist computer. "The Swift Venture is many things, Captain Zexthor. A warship, yes. A test bed for new technologies, certainly. But most importantly," she expanded the display, showing detailed scans of the Drachnid vessel's systems. "She's a research vessel." The alien commander's scales rippled with surprise as he recognized the depth of the scans. "Every attack we made, every weapon you fired, every shield frequency you used, every desperate tactic you tried." Harrison nodded. "All of it was analyzed, cataloged, and added to our database. Your final attack alone gave us more data about Drachnid technology than we've gathered in the past year." Lieutenant Chen, who had accompanied the boarding party, was already interfacing with the Drachnid ship's computer systems. "Their database encryption is impressive, Captain, but nothing we haven't prepared for. Their tactical logs alone will keep our analysts busy for months." Zexthor's massive form seemed to deflate further. "We thought we were the apex predators of space, that humans were just another prey species learning to venture beyond their world. But all this time, we were studying you," Harrison finished. "Every pirate raid on human ships wasn't just a victory for you. It was a carefully controlled experiment for us. Those helpless merchants, research vessels in disguise, their inadequate defenses, sensor platforms designed to analyze your attacks in detail." She gestured to the Drachnid bridge around them. "Your entire strategy of targeting human ships, it played right into our hands. You gave us the perfect opportunity to study advanced alien technology up close, under combat conditions. The cost." Zexthor's mandibles clicked rapidly in agitation. "The lives lost in those raids." Harrison's expression hardened. "Minimal. Those ships you thought you destroyed, most of them jumped to safety the moment you left. The debris fields were carefully crafted decoys. We lost some hardware, yes, but the crews were safe, and the data they gathered was invaluable." Chen looked up from his work. "Captain, you should see this. Their tactical database contains details about other pirate clans' operations, fleet movements, base locations, technological capabilities." "A bonus," Harrison smiled, "but not unexpected. Maya, how's the analysis of their engine core coming?" "It's beautiful, Captain." Maya's voice was filled with professional admiration. "Their quantum field manipulation is decades ahead of our current technology, or at least it was until today. Give me a week with these specs, and I'll have our engineers rebuilding it from scratch." Zexthor watched this exchange with growing comprehension. "You humans, you don't just adapt to threats. You actively seek them out, study them, master them. That's humanity's real superpower," Harrison agreed, turning to face the alien commander fully. "We're not just survivors or adapters. We're students of warfare, of technology, of everything we encounter. And today," she gestured to the captured ship around them, "today was your final exam." 3 weeks after the capture of the Drachnid mothership, Harrison stood at the viewport of her ready room aboard the Swift Venture, watching as engineering teams swarmed over the captured vessel in Titan Shipyard's massive dock. Her coffee had gone cold, forgotten as she observed the integration of human and Drachnid technology happening before her eyes. "Latest intelligence report, Captain," Rodriguez announced as he entered, tablet in hand. "The footage we accidentally leaked of our encounter with the Crimson Scales has spread through every major pirate network in the sector." Harrison's reflection smiled in the reinforced glass. "And the reaction? Better than we hoped. 3 minor clans have already approached Earth diplomatic channels about potential surrender terms. They're calling it the Harrison Protocol. Pirates get amnesty and technical consulting fees in exchange for peaceful technology exchange." "Consulting fees," Harrison laughed. "That's clever. Let them save face by pretending they're selling their expertise rather than surrendering. The door chimed again as Maya entered, her engineer's uniform showing signs of long hours in the captured ship's engine room. "Captain, you need to see this. We've finished our initial analysis of their quantum drive technology." She pulled up a holographic display showing complex technical diagrams. The Drachnids were sitting on something revolutionary without even realizing it. Their engine design has applications way beyond just propulsion. We're talking about potential breakthroughs in everything from power generation to medical technology. "They never pushed the boundaries," Harrison nodded. "Got comfortable with what worked and stopped innovating." She turned from the viewport. "Speaking of innovation, how's our friend Captain Zexthor adapting to his new role?" Rodriguez consulted his tablet. "Surprisingly well. His insights into pirate psychology have already helped us design better deterrent systems. Turns out he's got quite the analytical mind when he's not trying to blow up merchant ships." "Most pirates do," Harrison mused. "That's why this approach works. We're not just defeating them. We're giving them a better option. The smart ones are taking it." Maya's hologram shifted to show a sector map dotted with former pirate territories. "The word is spreading fast. Every successful integration of a former pirate clan brings new technology, new tactical insights, and new opportunities for advancement. Some are even saying humanity planned this from the beginning." Harrison's smile turned enigmatic. "Did we?" The official story is that the Swift venture was an experimental response to pirate attacks, a way to turn defense into offense. "And unofficially?" Rodriguez raised an eyebrow. "Unofficially," Harrison turned back to the viewport, watching as a new section of hybrid armor was fitted to the Swift venture's hull. "Humanity knew we'd encounter hostile species when we reached the stars. We knew we'd be technologically behind, at least initially. So we turned our greatest weakness, our vulnerability, into our greatest strength." She gestured to the bustling shipyard. "Every pirate attack taught us something new. Every raid gave us insights into alien technology. We didn't just defend against them, we used them as unwitting teachers. And now they're lining up to teach us directly," Maya finished, "because we proved we could beat them at their own game, then offered them a better one." Harrison's comm unit chimed with a priority message. "Captain, Command confirms Operation Teaching Moment is ready for Phase 2. The Swift venture is to proceed to the Orion Arms outer territories once repairs are complete." "New hunting grounds," Rodriguez grinned. "There are rumors of a particularly nasty group out there calling themselves the Stellar Dominion. Real empire-building types." "Perfect." Harrison picked up her cold coffee, finally taking a sip. "Time to show them why challenging humanity is like enrolling in the galaxy's toughest school. You either learn or you fail spectacularly." As the Swift venture's new hybrid systems came online, their energy signature a perfect blend of human innovation and alien technology, Harrison made her final log entry. Phase 1 complete. Human adaptation protocols exceeding expectations. The galaxy is about to learn a vital lesson. Never underestimate a species that turns every defeat into research and development. Class dismissed. For now.